You work a lot with Japanese ink on both paper and here on canvas. What is it like as a medium to work with?
I chose it because I was looking for a very matte black. So I was looking for a material that could be both kind of viscous, very thick and very thin, that I could layer up with washes, but that would particularly kind of almost drown the light, that would pull it in. So I did a lot of research into different blocks of ink from both China and Japan, and I found a particular one that was a very pure black, so it's not a brown black or a blue black, it's a particularly matte black. And then I grind it up with a pestle and mortar and use and kind of make a palette with various densities of grey and all the way to black. So that's why I use that particular material in both the much smaller drawings and the large paintings.
And how differently does it respond to the canvas as opposed to the paper?
I think it's more to do with scale. The canvas gives it a more liquid ground, so you can, it becomes more painterly. It becomes a more painterly medium on the canvas. So, and it's also, the drawings are very small. They're 30 centimetres by 20 centimetres, whereas the canvases are up to 4 metres by 2 metres. So, it's a completely different physical process. It's much more working with wet on the canvases, I think, and also with the canvas, it literally flows off the primed linen, so I need to work completely flat. So I work on the canvases unstretched in the studio. Yes. The work in this exhibition are all drawings and paintings of different anti-Brexit protests, except for one which is an anti-Trump protest. And they're both from the two events, both in June, which is the 2-year anniversary of Brexit, so June 2018. So this piece is called Cross. It's called Cross because it's a very square, it's got a compositional cross with the crowd. It kind of feels as if the crowd is coming in from different directions. So the crowd is protesting against Brexit. And what I wanted to kind of have a feeling of was the different factions or the different kind of representations that have been going on in the anti-Brexit movement, but in a sense maybe that there hasn't been enough that has been coalescing together. So I was quite interested in having something with a very strong composition, but that would have a sense of movement within it. And then I also wanted to depict the buildings as being kind of fragile, or and the buildings kind of represents the institution or the political institutions. And I wanted them to have a sense of maybe kind of floating above the crowd, of not being quite solid. So a sense that Brexit has been so, such a kind of strong and destabilising thing that is literally destabilising the buildings. And even though the protesting crowd all desire one thing, there's still different factions pulling in different directions, which has made the opposition to Brexit maybe not quite as effective as it should have been. So the piece is called Cross, and it has the composition of a cross with the 4 buildings in each corner. And it could also, I don't know, maybe we're all being crucified by Brexit as well, so that's a cross illusion as well. Okay.
I mean, it's kind of a bird's eye view. Are you working from photographs, from news footage?
I work from media images of the protesting crowd. So these would be taken, I either pull stills from videos or films that would be taken from a helicopter, bird's eye view. I do occasionally try and get up to tall buildings and take photographs myself, but I'm interested in how we witness these events, how we witness and how we interpret them. So I'm interested in how we receive these images through the media, and then in a way I kind of grab the image and the most obvious thing is it's transformed into a monochrome from the kind of tiny, very low pixelated image. So I kind of memorialize them. So I memorialize the event, or the moment, of something happening in a particular location. And in this piece, Cross, and in the other pieces, they're nearly all kind of approaching or going away from Parliament Square. So they're all based in central London.
You've just mentioned memorialising, and you're in a 4-woman show here about Protest and Remembrance. Yes. Actually, your work covers both aspects of that.
Yes, so it's so obviously the work is do with specific protest crowds. But yes, it is memorialising the event, and it's really great to be part of this particular show that is about protest and remembrance, the two at the same time.
And obviously your scales are quite radically different. Do you do the small works first and work them up, or?
Yes, I do. I mean, what I do is the kind of methodology is I archive as many different protesting crowds as possible. And so 2018, I particularly concentrated on anti-Trump women's marches and also the anti-Brexit marches as well. And then I would collect kind of several hundred images, and from them I would select ones to kind of transform and to work with. But you can recognise the media images from the drawings. And in a way, I think the drawings, they're very meditative, but they also kind of help me become familiar with the image, and then I will choose one of the drawings or one or two to work up as paintings. I haven't made that many of these big paintings. This is quite new. I mean, I first made them in 2015. I'd worked on a lot of public artworks before, so it's really interesting to work on them, and kind of as you know, in just with the method and the scale, and it's much more of a challenge. Yeah, so I find them quite difficult, but in a good way.
Yeah, because the little ones, I mean, definitely from this distance, but even close up, the little ones look completely photographic.
Yes.
Whereas the larger ones, they still do, and probably more so from more of a distance. But they're almost verging on slight abstraction as well.
Yeah, I think they pull towards abstraction, and because, in a way, what I'm doing with the bigger images is I'm inclined to kind of abandon the photographic image when I get to the paintings and work from the drawings. But I am looking at kind of a whole series of variations of tone and shade and translating that, and they're kind of made in different areas and different smaller areas and kind of put together. They're not really made with huge gestural kind of marks. They're made in quite a controlled way, looking downward. So I have a bird's eye view over the canvas as well.
Do you attend all of the events that you depict?
Not all of them. I just recently moved to Belfast from London, so in fact I had been on nearly all the Brexit protests, but not these two particular ones. But I kind of think by spending so much time on them that it's a different way of attending. And it's also, I think it's about the visibility of the protest, and I think that, you know, the protesting, it does make a difference. I wonder, is it making a difference now with what's happening with the Brexit protest? So I think, you know, visualizing that is a way of participating in the protest itself.
And as you say, what's happening now, I mean, the show is going to be on during the period when Brexit is actually meant to happen.
Yeah, so it's very much, There's the last two drawings were of the September, the People's Vote March, which was 700,000 or 800,000 people. And, you know, I think that kind of scale of people on the street, when it starts looking more like the anti-Iraq war marches, when it has that kind of visibility, that kind of mass, I think that makes a difference to public opinion. It makes that mass of opposition visible, and that's what I'm kind of trying to capture with these works, is the visibility of that mass.
So do you see the works as a form of protest in their own right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I would find it very difficult to make a piece of work about a protest that I didn't have some belief or particular interest in myself. So yeah, that would be an element to it.